We're live.
All right, we're going live. Hit live.
Welcome. Good morning or evening. We're live everywhere.
Almost live on Mighty Tribe. Okay. All right. We're live on Mighty Tribe. We got our Instagram here, Dr. Kiltz, and of course our YouTube, Facebook. Welcome, everyone. We're really excited. Max Germain is here, the man who's going to tell us about his carnivore journey at 21. Whoa, Max, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, maybe you could introduce yourself to those that are just getting on with us this morning from around the globe, and what got you into this carnivore space.
Yeah, well, I'm 21 years old, like mentioned, from New Zealand. So, on the other side of the world to you. What got me into carnivore? Well, originally it was actually a few Paul Saladino shorts. I was on TikTok scrolling along. I saw this bloke talking about how spinach is bad for you. And I thought, really? Spinach is bad for me? And then as I went more and more down it, I discovered some Dr. Chafee videos on YouTube, started watching them, and just everything he said made complete sense. So, after hearing originally what carnivore was, I went right down the rabbit hole. I was doing a law degree at the time. All of that went to the side. I just obsessed in my room watching every carnivore video I could. So I thought, I had to give this thing a go. And then, within basically instantly, I just felt incredibly good. And yeah, day by day, I felt better. So that's what got me into carnivore.
And tell us what it's done for your life, physically, emotionally, and just outwardly.
Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, it's changed my life in so many ways that I didn't even really think were not necessarily possible, but just ways that I couldn't imagine, So for most of my life, I had very just, average energy levels. When my alarm went off in the morning, I'd snooze it over and over before I get up. But on carnivore, what I found is that within a few days, I was waking up well before my alarm with lots of energy, and this energy was prolonged throughout the day. I felt incredible all day long. So that was the first thing I noticed, just a massive tangible increase in my overall energy. I also, growing up, had a lot of gut issues. I had IBS one point. It's so bad that I had to have a month off school. Like it was just that bad. My stomach was just always in intense pain. Couldn't go to school. And I changed my diet to what they call a low FODMAP diet. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And that worked wonders, but it still wasn't, ideal. I still had some stomach pains. But as soon as I went on carnivore, just flawless digestion. Also had a lot of skin issues growing up with acne. That all went away. But there's also sort of like mindset changes. I think a big part of it is, you're consuming more dietary cholesterol, which is obviously a precursor to testosterone. But I just feel more motivated in life. Just everything I do, I sort of have more passion with the way I do it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's just, yeah. That's basically the best way to put it. I feel more passionate about life as a whole. So
you said something about law and what's your direction today?
Yeah, well, so I did about half a law degree, and I didn't hate it. It was okay, but I sort of played it out, and I thought, well, if I'm going to do something my entire life, and obsess over this craft. When I look back on my life, I think that I'll be happy with more happy, I should say, with what I did if it was what I was really, truly passionate about. So even though I got distracted by a comment there.
Yeah.
They're popping up, distracting me.
Yeah.
So, even though I didn't hate it, I just thought, well, if I'm going to do something, it needs to be something I absolutely love. And I was always super passionate about nutrition growing up, how the human body worked. I got into bodybuilding at a very young age, not competing, but just, training in the gym. And this whole carnivore thing, like it completely really fascinated me. Just everything that I was hearing online about how plants are actually toxic. And then I started learning about, all the fraud that went into labeling red meat as the bad guy. It just truly captivated me. So I decided, what? I'm going to start making some YouTube videos talking about some of the things I've learned and experienced with carnivore, and that started to take off a bit. So I thought, well, I really like this. Why don't I do something that, relates to carnivore. So now I'm going to do a biology degree.
Oh wow.
Awesome. So Carnivore Dan, when did you start in the bodybuilding world, and what changes did you see with carnivore in your physique?
Well, this is actually another big change I noticed. So from about the age of 14, I got into the gym. And what would happen is you go on these bulks, and that's what they're called in the bodybuilding space, which is essentially you eat a lot of food, you gain a lot of weight, fat, muscle, and you try to put on as much muscle as possible. So I would go on these bulks, and then I would cut down and get lean. But in the past, what I'd find on a traditional diet, when you're consuming all these carbohydrates and just everything really, is that every time I went to get lean, I'd just feel incredibly hungry the whole time. The entire time I was dieting down, my life would revolve around food. I've even had friends say to me now that, when I was cutting down, I was like a different person. I was just angry, irritable, starving the whole time, felt terrible. But on carnivore, what I find is when I cut down, I actually feel really good the whole time. I'm not hungry. I still have great energy levels. So it's a lot easier on a carnivore diet to get lean than it is on a traditional diet. So yeah, from about the age of 14, I've been right into this whole cutting and bulking thing. Decided I'm not doing it anymore. I want to stay lean year round. But yeah, that's sort of the story with getting in shape regarding the carnivore diet.
And just for everyone to know, we got Max Germain here on our YouTube, Facebook. So if you're on our Mighty Tribe or Instagram, you could at least, I hope, listen and hear Max tell a story. If you want to come on over, everyone's welcome. Your questions, comments, all are really important. Let's see, I started carnivore at 55. I was at keto, Atkins-y in my 40s and then 50s, and I found carnivore to be one of the game changers. And tell us a little bit about your friends, your colleagues, your family, how they've responded to you doing this.
Well, at the start, when I was telling everyone that I've discovered that vegetables are actually bad for you, everyone thought I was a bit crazy. But as time went on, and I sort of really understood it. Every question they'd fire away at me, I sort of had an answer. They'd be like, "Well, what about fiber? So what do you need fiber for?" I don't know. Fiber's good for the gut, isn't it? Yeah, but what does fiber do? We can't absorb it. So when you sort of start, every question they've got, you've got an immediate response for it. After time, they start to go, "Oh, you know what? Maybe he's got a point." And then I'm saying how much better I feel. They can see I'm visibly looking better. I've got more energy. So what started to happen was a few of them thought, you know what, maybe I'll give this thing a go. And I'd encourage them because I knew exactly what would happen to them. I'd say to them, just give it 30 days. If you don't like it, if nothing else, it's a fun little experiment you can try on yourself. So that's what I do. I get people, 30 days. And what happened time after time with every person I said this to is I'd give it 30 days. They'd feel so good. They'd be looking better than they've ever looked. And then they're hooked to it. That's what happened to my parents. They're like, okay, all right, Max, if you shut up about this whole carnivore thing, we'll try it for 30 days. So they do it for 30 days. They felt incredible. They lost a lot of weight. They're like, oh, you know what? We'll keep going. And then after you've been on carnivore for a while, and you know what happens when you've been on carnivore for a while and you eat something else, all of a sudden you eat that food. One, it doesn't taste as good as you remember because your taste buds have changed. But two, you eat it and the next day you wake up and you're like, oh, that's right. I remember feeling like this my whole life. So all of a sudden, that food becomes a lot less appealing. And yeah, basically everyone I know has gotten hooked to carnivore. So a lot of my friends are on it. My family's on it. Both my parents have dropped 15, 20 kilos. One of my aunties has dropped about 20 kilos. My whole family's on it. So now they love it. But at the start, they thought it was a little bit odd.
Well, I looked up a low FODMAP diet, right? Mm-hmm. The gastroenterology consultants put it up here. And it foods to avoid excess fructose, lactose, fructans, polyols, galactans. I mean, do most people even know what those are?
None.
No. All right. Foods to enjoy: fruit, vegetables, starch, dairy, lactose-free milk, oat milk, rice milk, soy milk. This is what they recommend. Cheese, hard cheese, brie, yogurt, ice cream substitutes, gelatin sorbet, butter substitutes, olive oil, miscellaneous things to enjoy, sucrose, glucose, sweeteners, honey substitutes, quantities, small quantities of golden syrup, maple syrup, molasses. So it has all the fruits and vegetables like thrown in there. And as you followed that FODMAP diet, what did it do to you?
So it was actually like, this is might actually sound very surprising, and even to me it's quite surprising. Is what had happened with my stomach issues is I suddenly got into the bodybuilding. So I went from eating just like normal, like a normal person, to every meal being like kumara, which I think you guys call sweet potato, and then rice, broccoli, just a ridiculous amount of vegetables, and then like lean meats. So I had no stomach issues before the age of 14. Then all of a sudden I was just absolutely destroyed. But because I removed these, common digestive system, disruptant carbohydrates, what I actually found with the FODMAP is that like I actually felt my gut improved like 90% basically instantly. Like it's nowhere near as good as it was on carnivore, but surprisingly it actually did work.
It's symptomatically short term. You felt better because they're drugs. I mean, but plants contain a lot of medicinal substances, including small amounts of heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine. I mean, when people drink coffee or smoke cigarettes, they feel better, don't they?
Yeah.
And so I gotta imagine that all the chemicals, the antigens, and the fermentation of those plants. I mean, alcohol makes people feel better in the short term, doesn't it?
Certainly does.
And so if you're fermenting in your gut, you're making alcohol. And so young and old, right? We're all doing it, right? It's crazy. Yeah. What did Amy on Brisket Boomers have to say?
She says, I love Max. Is it German or Germain? Max.
German, like the country.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I love Mac German's YouTube videos. He has a gift for explaining carnivore with a happy smiley face steak.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
Yeah. And again, these stories are so important. How critical do you think it is that we inspire our doctors, our healthcare practitioners around the globe to embrace a carnivore lifestyle?
Yeah, well, that has to be the number one thing, because even Robert F. Kennedy, the guy who's taken over the healthcare system in America, he talks about how people listen to what the professionals and what the experts and what the guidelines are saying. So for one, the key things that he has laid out is he wants to get all these guidelines changed. And it's very true. When you talk to people about a carnivore diet and you say to them, look, this whole cholesterol thing, it's founded on a bunch of fraud. There's no credible evidence supporting it. And they go, well, okay. But my doctor has told me this. In these people's eyes, their doctors are these, massive authority figures who know everything about health. So when they're telling them, no, you need to limit your red meat, it's just never going to go anywhere if the mainstream doctor's opinion is that red meat causes heart disease, causes all of these diseases. So I think the number one thing for spreading the carnivore message is getting, as many doctors as possible, spreading the word, and try to make the mainstream opinion of red meat that it is actually the superfood, like it actually is.
Yeah, and ultimately, the good question is, what toxins are in meat?
Exactly.
None, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit about your direction in your biology degree.
Yeah, so it actually starts in about a month's time. So I've been rereading all of my old biology books from my my high school, but it's just to completely refresh my knowledge, so I go in there as sharp as possible. But yeah, so it hasn't actually started yet, the biology degree, but I'm looking forward to that a lot. I do a lot of reading. I read a lot of books on nutrition and physiology and that sort of stuff. So.
All right, Chiefs fan Japan. I keep hearing I won't get the proper nutrition from carnivore. Max, you want to comment on that?
Well, the best way to answer that question is, what nutrients can you not get from meat? The very simple answer, absolutely zero. And red meat literally provides you with every single nutrient in the perfect quantities. And when you say this to people, there's usually a couple of responses you get. The first is, well, there's no fiber. And to those people, it's just like, well, what do we need fiber for? Many other animals, when they consume fiber, they ferment this fiber, turn into short chain fatty acids. And in the process of this fermentation, they break down the defense compounds that are in plants. So when herbivore animals eat plants, they can extract a lot of nutrition from it. They can extract energy from it, but we can't. Fiber is, like I said, completely undigestible, goes straight through us, binds to our gut, causes inflammation there. No need for fiber. And the other one is vitamin C. But in meat, there is enough vitamin C. And the easiest way to prove this is, well, how many people have gotten scurvy from a meat-only diet? And their answer is 0.
And how many times, I've never seen scurvy in my lifetime. I've never seen rickets in my lifetime. So I always question our science. Wonder how much of our science actually is false, even in our biology books.
Yeah, no, that is a great question. That's what I'm going into this degree thinking. With everything I'm learned, I'm going to be thinking, how do we know this is true? Because especially when you hear guys like Bart Kay talk, absolute wizard, that man. I don't even know how he knows half the stuff he knows, but it's just so many of these things that are labeled as fact. He goes, well, no, that's not quite how it works. I've heard him talk a lot about insulin resistance. The common mainstream opinion is, well, insulin just stops working properly, rah. But he goes, well, hang on a sec. Too much glucose in a cell is incredibly toxic to it. So when insulin becomes resistant, stops working properly, it's actually doing its job and protecting the cell. So there's so many of these things that are just regarded as fact, which, maybe they're not.
Well, I always wonder what is the job of insulin?
Well, many functions, but primarily to, bring the blood sugar back down.
How about that's not true?
That's very possible.
What if insulin's job is to make fat? And that's it. Would you agree that insulin's doing a good job at making fat?
Definitely, you
right.
can't burn fat when it's elevated.
And if there's a famine, is it good to be fat or skinny?
You definitely want to be fat during a famine.
So for the first 3.5 million years of existence of humanity, maybe, was it easy to find food?
Probably not for large parts of it, at least.
The majority of it, right? Finding food is hard. And so I always go back to, we've got it all wrong. Insulin's job is to make fat. The liver's job is to make fat. And insulin's job is not to lower glucose. It's to convert the food you ate into fat. Because you can't, you don't use your food in your gut as fuel. You use the fat on your body and in your liver for fuel. And I just wonder if there's really a simplicity to this that we're all missing.
Yeah, it definitely is possible. It could serve multiple functions. Obviously, if you have the elevated blood sugar levels, that's going to be incredibly toxic with all the glycation that's going on. But it's definitely possible that it could be for that.
If there's food around in our general evolution, is it easy? Even as a carnivore, if you're in a restaurant all day and food is like free for you, you live there, is it easy not to eat it?
If you had a massive meal and the only other stuff is carnivore food, then after a while you'd get pretty full, and I'd say.
Right. But if there's food all the time in your environment, like here, and I'm just wondering if our story is, even on carnivore, eat as much as you want. You think that's a good statement for us in general?
That is one of the very few things I disagree with. Amongst the carnivore community, how everyone says that you can eat as much as you want. I think if you are hungry, like truly hungry, and you eat till you're full, you'll stay at a very healthy body fat. But I think when you say to people, eat as much as you like you can definitely still gain weight on a carnivore diet. So I'm not too sure I completely agree with that message either.
Right, right. So I imagine, however many years ago, wherever you were at, and where do you live?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. So if there were no markets, no farms, no ranches, and every day you had to hunt for food, would you just, would it be easy?
I would imagine it wouldn't be very easy, no.
It would be easy. So our access to food might be our biggest problem, not our physiology or biology.
Mm.
I wonder.
Yeah, no, I would definitely guess that, if you looked at the total human deaths across time and you had to look at what the main cause of death was, I would say that starvation is definitely number one.
Yeah, and trying to kill a bull cow or a mammoth, was that a dangerous endeavor?
Yeah.
Very dangerous. Chiefs Fan Japan on Instagram has a question. Doc, I love you. I started my carnivore journey about 5 days ago and I'm absolutely shocked. My reflux that I had all my life is gone. And can you explain how this happened? Any thoughts, Max?
I mean, you're the doctor here, Dr. Kiltz. I think you'll give a much better answer than I will.
Well, but we're all doing this together. Have you noticed similar benefits?
Oh, I've never really had too much acid reflux in my life, but I mean, as with all things, improper diet, when you have an improper diet, you've a number of things going on. You're not giving your body the food it wants. It wants to eat meat. So when you're giving it these artificial things, the processes that go on in our body don't seem to occur very, very well. So,
and when you eat fatty meat, basically you're not fermenting. When you eat plants, you're fermenting. Did you find that you ate less food less frequently by going carnivore versus omnivore, herbivore?
Oh, absolutely. I think a big part of that is just becoming what they call fat adapted. The typical person, for those who don't understand what this is, the typical person, they eat a lot of carbohydrates. Their diet is primarily carbohydrates. So their body's primary fuel source is carbohydrates. And when you've run out of these carbohydrates you've consumed, your body's then not very effective at tapping into its own fat because your body fat and the carbohydrates you've consumed have very different structures. But when you're fat adapted, you're on a high fat diet. As soon as you run out of the fats you've eaten, your body's then very efficient at tapping into its own body fat because your body fat and the fats you're consuming have very similar structures. So I noticed, and what I think nearly everyone notices on carnivore, is you start eating a lot less frequently. You don't get hungry. I remember when I first started carnivore, I noticed I just never got hungry. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to test this out. I'm just not going to eat until I get hungry. And then 1 day passed, 2 days passed. And then on the third day, I got a bit bored halfway through and I ate. But even 2.5 days later, I wasn't hungry. Whereas in the past, when I've been dieting down, if I hadn't eaten in 2-3 hours, I could barely have a conversation with people. All I'm thinking about is food. So definitely eat a lot less.
And we do think about food a lot. I mean, it's sort of our brain is driven for that because, it's food, reproductive opportunities. I mean, ultimately, that's our drive in life. We want to look good. We want to look good to the opposite sex for reproductive opportunities. And obviously food has become our entertainment. We got a couple of comments on our Kiltz Mighty Tribe KMT. Let's see. Deb Augustine says, hi, Steph Blanc. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Kiltz. It's a great day to be a lion. And Steph says, in only 48 hours, I noticed the same changes where basically no more bloating, no more brain fog. Energy feels more amazing than ever before, which is kind of crazy. Tell us a little bit about what you eat in the day, Max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I said, I go through the bulking and cutting. When I would bulk, I would usually eat about 3 meals a day. I'm probably talking close to 4 pounds of meat per day. And, I'm training hard. Some of it is muscle gain, but a lot of it, when I was eating this much meat, a lot of fatty meat, some eggs in there too, a lot of it was fat gain. Whereas recently I've been leaning out, cutting what they call. I've dropped about 8.5 kilos in the last 100 days, which is about 20-ish pounds, just below it, I think. And so whilst I was doing that, I cut down the amount I was eating, down to about 3 pounds of meat per day. I'll go slightly leaner when I'm leaning out too. It just makes sense. Consuming less total energy, and when body fat is just stored energy, you want to consume less energy so your body can then tap into its own body fat. So typically in a day, I will eat about 3 pounds of meat, and I often do what is called fat cycling. So if you have too many meals in a row where you're not eating enough fat, you just start to feel not super good. So what I'll do is every second meal will be like a leaner meal, and then the meal after that will be a fattier meal. So yeah, that's what I've been eating recently. Like I said, dropped about 8.5 kilos, and I plan on never bulking again and just staying lean forever. So yeah, that's what I'm eating.
Do you do much cardio? Where's your thoughts on cardio?
Yeah, well, cardio from a health perspective is a very interesting argument. The people that argue both sides, but I just feel good when I do cardio. I love the assault bike at the gym. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's like just a bike where you move with your hands as well. And into boxing, I got a mate who's a very good boxer, so I train with him. So yeah, and I do lots of walking too. I enjoy just go for a walk and listen to a podcast or something. So that's what I do for cardio.
Tell us a little bit about your podcasting and what got you in it, and what's your sort of drive in that.
Yeah, so I just make YouTube videos on sort of carnivore topics that I find interesting. Like I said, when I first started, I studied nutrition and bodybuilding. All my life growing up, I just obsessed over it. So I knew a lot about the fitness side. But then I started carnivore, and I really just went right down the rabbit hole. Watched. I don't know how many Dr. Anthony Chaffee videos there are on the internet that I haven't watched. Same with all the interviews. Watched a lot of your stuff, Dr. Kiltz. Just all the carnivore content I could consume. And so then I, had a general base of knowledge, and I thought, well, I really like this carnivore stuff. I'm going to make some videos, share my experience, share some of the things I've learned. And then as I, learned more, made better videos, people started watching. And then I thought, well, I find this topic interesting. I'm going to make a video on it. I'm sure other people might find it interesting. And really, I just want to, spread the word of carnivore. It's, I was when I started, what would have been 19, 20, something like that. I didn't have too many things wrong with my life. A lot of people, they go on carnivore sort of as a last resort. They're, when you've got type 2 diabetes and it's basically eating you alive, and carnivore is your only hope. That's sort of the main reason many people go on carnivore. They're left with sort of no choice. But for me, as a young guy who didn't have too many issues, it completely changed my life. So, I just really, really am passionate about the carnivore message, and I love making videos just to, spread that.
Yeah, cool. Scott Rennie on Dr. Kilt's Instagram. I need to lose more weight. Stall at this time. What are your thoughts?
So, when it comes to fat loss on carnivore, there are a few levers you can pull. I really do believe that, it pains me to say this because it does taste incredibly good. But I think the best thing to do if you have a weight loss stall is to cut back or, get rid of your dairy completely. And when you look at what dairy is designed for, it's created by a mother to give to, their infant in order to grow. Now, as Dr. Berry says, we've stopped growing up so we can only grow wide. It increases your hunger. It's also addictive. It has compounds in it such as beta-casomorphin 7, which act on the opioid receptors in the brain, make you want to consume more of it. But I think the biggest problem with dairy is, on carnivore, you eat till you're no longer hungry. But the thing with dairy is it's very high in energy, but it doesn't fill you up very much. So when body fat's stored energy, you want to be consuming as little energy as possible so you can tap into that body fat. But when you've got this food, it's not filling you up, but it's very high in energy, and therefore you're drawing, less energy from your body fat. It's not optimal when it comes to a fat loss perspective. So I think the number one thing is cut down dairy. And then, a lot of people in the carnivore space, like Dr. Kiltz and I talked about earlier, they promote this message on, eat as much fatty meat as you want. And I think for many people, this absolutely works. You can eat, for lots of people, they're born with sort of genetically smaller appetites. And even more so than that, a lot of people are born with sort of a proclivity to not boredom eat and to not emotionally eat. But I think for a lot of people who are born with larger appetites and they sort of have this, I'm a bit bored, I'm stressed, I'm going to eat. I don't necessarily think that is the best message. So I think what in order to lose weight, first cut the dairy, and then secondly, I would, tone back the total amount of food and maybe just reduce the fat slightly. Now, fat's obviously essential. You don't want to get rid of it completely. You're just going to feel horrible. But I think cutting back on the fat also, just ever so slightly, you're going to reduce your total energy intake, and therefore you'll burn more fat. Those would be the main points.
Walking, weights, and meat, and the fatty meat helps suppress appetite, inflammation. But if you really want to cut leaner meat for a short amount of time and get in the weight room and go for a good walk, I think that's real important, like you said, Max. There's a question here from Sabs on Instagram, wondering what your thoughts are on adding fish, mussels, fatty fish, sardines, salmon, as well as the meat.
Yeah, I mean, fish is definitely a great addition. It can be problematic, because corporations and certain nations have dumped a lot of plastic in the ocean that it can be high in microplastics. But, then it sort of comes, if you're eating a ridiculous amount of fish, it might become a problem. But if you're just having a bit of fish from time to time, I'm sure it's not the end of the world.
What's our iTunes handle? Do you know, Alia? Do we have an iTunes?
There's an
We'll check on
Apple.
that.
I'll check on that. Yeah.
Check on Apple and that. Well, see, pissing and pooping in the waters of the world contain every drug we've taken, every poison that's created, industrial stuff that's dumped in the waters of the world. So I, in general, minimize the animals from the oceans or the streams and the lakes of the world. I do 99% of it from a cow, in my opinion, but you can do that for sure. But I think that's one of our challenges. They may not be true. So when were fruits available in our environments? All year round or certain times of the year?
For about 2 weeks of the year, many of them.
And so are we driven to eat sweet fruit?
I would say definitely, yeah.
And are we driven to suckle that sweet milk?
Yep, absolutely.
And the goal is to get fat.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Well, I mean, I like we talked about earlier, we don't want to starve to death. So I think any energy that we could get, our bodies will take advantage of.
Well, I believe fat is the only energy for our body. And I believe we do not burn sugar ever.
Mm-hmm.
Sugar's not your energy. It has to be only fat. Because when people eat sugar, they get fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it must be the body's directive for you to eat plants, eat sugars, get fat.
Mm-hmm.
And because it knows food is not going to be in your environment, winter, hibernation, migration, gestation, and go hunting for 2 weeks, what are you burning?
You're burning fat.
Only fat. And so when we eat food, and let's just say we eat plants and animals, the sugars we eat must be converted to fat in the liver or we die. And if you look at a type 1 diabetic, they have no insulin. They cannot make fat. Now, in our diets, when you were prior to carnivore, how much fat did you eat?
Very minimal.
And ultimately, we eat very little animal fat. You eat a lot of plant oils, and so which are only industrially produced. Because if you go to a plant and show me the fat, would you find it easily?
No, absolutely not.
Not. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Kiltz, can I just jump in real quick?
Oh, come on. Yeah.
So this is we're doing the giveaway again today. We have 116 people watching. I appreciate everybody watching, but I also want everyone to toss in a hashtag steak to get into the giveaway on Facebook and YouTube. If you are watching on KMT, come over, just toss that in there. And we've caught up on almost all the giveaways. So you are going to get your book. It's Kiltz's Keto is Carnivore.
Yeah, we're sharing our books. We have more books coming. We're sharing our Kiltz cups. with everyone. And you can go to kiltscups.com. And listen, I'm a coffee fanatic, but I haven't had it in 2 years except for a month of decaf January of last year. So I put my hot water, occasionally have tea, and every so often, actually, Pilar's husband, Luca, makes an amazing cappuccino. And I had it when I visited them in the summertime. It was so good one time.
A guy named Lucas should make amazing cappuccinos.
Luca, he's amazing. And Harold's going to be born on the 17th of February or earlier. So excited about that. Max, where do you put coffee and tea and alcohol in your philosophy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of people on carnivore have convinced themselves that coffee might actually be the one plant that's good for them. You know, there's all these studies that show people who drink coffee, you know, they live longer and whatnot. Now, admittedly, I'm a coffee addict. You know, I still drink coffee every day, but I drink it knowing that it is bad for me. You know, I that's the one plant I do not want to get rid of, and I just really enjoy, you know, waking up in the morning and having a nice cup of coffee. So my rule on coffee, well, not my rule, but my philosophy on coffee is it's bad for you. I drink it because I really like it. If you want to be as healthy as you possibly can, you want to be the first person to live to 140, don't drink it. It's definitely not good for you. And then, you know, tea's very similar. And, you know, alcohol I drink very minimally. You know, maybe every couple months I'll hang out with some mates and I'll have a few. And I don't feel as good for a good few days after. So alcohol is obviously a poison. So all of these things, they're not good for you. But it's just like, what are we optimizing here for? Do we want to live to 140 and, you know, never enjoy, you know, these little things? Maybe you do. I don't know. It's a person dependent. They're definitely not good for you. So, yeah.
So Eve Medworth says, what about people who can't put on weight, underweight, and people say I'm lucky? I guess we don't even know what the proper weight for anyone is. You know, we judge people's weights as if we know what the right weight is. I would say we don't know. It depends on the environment, the circumstances. You know, if you have access to food every day, you're fine. But if in fact, you know, that there's a famine, a war, pestilence, disease, right? You better have food available, or you better be fat. And do you think, would any other animal say, boy, I really wish I could lose weight?
No. But other animals don't have Instagram though.
but right. Well, I don't know. That one I would question. But what animal says I want? What animal is thinking, wow, I want to be skinny?
Mm.
Would it make any sense?
No, absolutely not.
Is it possible that fat causes no disease?
I mean, yeah, it's entirely possible.
And so fat on our body or consumed is actually healthy for us and not deadly or damaging for us.
Yeah, very possible. In fact, I'd say that is the case, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I think is kind of radical and crazy and amazing. We've got Max German here today from New Zealand.
Correct.
Where in New Zealand?
Auckland.
Auckland. And I'll be in where am I going? To Melbourne, the April 26th for Carnivore
Collective. Yeah, Carnivore Collective.
With Melissa B. And really excited about it for sure. R4 Rose, watch yesterday, lady who used Ozempic for a year to lose weight, got terrible news as in bone density loss. You know, I guess what's going to happen with all these drugs for losing weight, Max? What's your opinion on these things? Remember, opinions. We're all good on opinions.
I mean, the thing is, you can't out biology, you know, so people will put these compounds in their body. You know, our bodies aren't used to them, first of all. And secondly, we have no idea what these things do. And you see this with just simple compounds that we extract from plants. If you consume them, you may notice that you have some benefit in some area. because these compounds and our bodies are so sophisticated, yes, it might improve one area of your life, but then it's also causing damage to, another part of your body. So I think with all of these drugs, they're so untested. We've never consumed it before. And when you look at it through the whole, species appropriate diet concept lens, it just makes no fundamental sense. If a species hasn't consumed something for an extended period of time, their body's not going to do well when they do consume it. And so I think it's pretty common sense that long term, all of these things are going to cause serious problems. Bless you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Max, either on Instagram, KMT, or YouTube, Facebook, are welcome. Max is here graciously. What time is it in New Zealand?
It is 11:40 p.m. I've stayed up nice and late.
Oh man, you're the man. I love you, brother. But let's see, at 21, I mean, I'm basically sound asleep by 9 p.m. and up at 3 a.m. That's my daily.
Yeah, I'm very similar to you. Usually I'm in bed by about 8:30, but I've stayed up nice and late for this one.
Oh,
Thank
we
you
love
so
you.
much.
We love you, brother.
Likewise.
Coach Lisa, for Max, what does your training program look like? As a bodybuilder, I used to hate off-season bulk ups. I love staying strong and lean year-round.
Yeah, so I basically just do the typical push-pull legs, which is chest, shoulders, triceps on a Monday. Tuesday will be back and biceps, and then, as the name suggests, legs on Wednesday. And then I'll repeat that cycle twice throughout the week. So I usually take about one rest day per week. I've recently changed up how I train. I used to, I tried for a while the whole doing a lot less sets, but training very intense and training to failure. I saw a lot of people online saying how when they cut back the amount of training they were doing, they actually found that they grew more. But I really looked into the science of this recently. And essentially what they've found is that there's no actual, maximum recoverable limit. So you can basically just train over and over, and it doesn't seem to impede your growth too much. So I've doubled the amount of sets I do per workout recently. I used to do about 5 sets of chest on a chest day, whereas now it's about 10. So that's basically what my training program looks like. And always to failure on every set too.
One of the things I always say excessive exercise is one of the 5 causes of damage and disease to our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And so resistance work is good, and getting out and walking and participating in life. But I'm always concerned of the excessive resistance work could be damaging as people age. But doing it, I think, is important. And again, it's sort of like, the more miles you put on your car, the more damage to your car.
Mm.
Is the human body different?
I'm probably inclined to agree with you. But again, it's like it comes back to the sort of what are you optimizing for? Like, let's say someone's trying to be the greatest boxer of all time. If you were to say to them, look, mate, I don't think all this training is very good for your body, they'd laugh at you. You know what I mean? Like, they're not concerned about that. Whereas the person who's, maybe you're Brian Johnson, that guy who's trying to be the first person to live forever, if you told him that, he'd go, oh, okay, you know what? I'm going to cut back on the exercise. So I guess it really is about, what your goals are in life. For me, I just love training. I feel incredible when I train. I feel incredible after I train. I just really, really like it. So even if I might be slightly less healthy, to me, it's still worth it. But I can imagine for many people out there, maybe not doing ridiculous amounts of exercise is probably the best thing for your health.
Well, things like yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, just walking and getting up out of bed and participating in being creative. That's the thing that I go to the gym, I do my walking, I do my weights, I do my 100 push-ups a day. But I do know that repetitive exercising it can be damaging to the human body. When you're younger, and again, I'm almost 70, I've seen the differences over time. And in general, if you look at professional athletes of any athlete, would you say that their body gets stronger over time or gets more damaged over time?
It definitely gets more damaged.
Right. So and again, I do believe that doing and getting up and participating is important, but repetitive exercises can be harmful, and simply doing simple, easy stretching and things like that could be, or hanging out with Max and listening to his stuff. And again, I think those are really, really important for all of us. Jumping on a trampoline daily. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's probably a great one. That not too much impact on the old joints, so I reckon that's a great one.
Yeah. I mean, I think these are good ones for sure. Let's see. What else we got coming out? Any other questions we got?
Like 2 more. We have some other questions, but I don't know if they're necessarily for Max. But Jimbro, the Bible talks says the strength of a man is his gut. Do you believe having shredded abs is ideal? That question.
I mean, yeah, I reckon it certainly looks good. That's one aspect. And then, if you've got shredded abs, chances are you're going to have a very strong core, which is, practically a very good thing. So, I mean, yeah, I don't see any downside to having shredded abs. I think it's a good thing.
Although if you're on a 1,000-mile journey and your access to food might be low for whatever reason, our belly fat and our visceral fat and our organ fat is our friend. And partly that I think that I love shredded, but I also believe that we have to sort of inspire our brothers and sisters as we age that the fat on our body is not the cause of disease. Obesity is not the cause of disease, which is kind of a crazy concept. Would you agree, Max?
Yeah, well, I think that most people are more concerned about, like how it looks when they're concerned about getting fat. I don't think too many people are worried about, unless you're like severely obese. I don't think, having fat, I think people's major concern with that is, they just want to look a certain way. So I think if you want to change, how people see fat, then there sort of needs to be something done around, just the beauty standards or something.
Yeah, well, maybe that's part of our problem. We are judgmental against fat and not understanding the truth about fat. And again, I think people psychologically feel down about their body rather than thinking up and thinking positive about their body, which I think this is where faith comes in all of it. There's another comment here that I thought that was good. Here it is. Burns Aquatics, cats and dogs. What should we feed them, Max?
Same as us. Cats and dogs are both carnivorous species. Like us, they have the highly acidic stomachs. And more importantly, it's what they don't have. They don't have the ability to ferment plants. So therefore, they didn't consume them for most of their existence. And they have no way to break down the defense compounds that are in these plants. So dogs, cats, based on normal meat diet, like they would eat in the wild if they had an abundance of food.
Yeah, dogs and cats evolutionarily have evolved from lions and wolves. And so what would you feed a lion and a wolf? But if you feed a lion, a wolf, or a human a plant, we become domesticated animals. We're easily controlled by the masters of the message. And how do we overcome and shift and change this message?
Yeah, that right there is a tough question, a very tough question, because you're really up against it. Like 99% of studies, nutrition studies, the science is funded by the opposition. So it's there's no big meat, major big meat lobbyist groups. If everyone eats meat, your local butcher gets rich. Your local farmers get rich. It's very hard to own the world's market supply of meat simply because it goes off very quickly. But when it comes to plants, if everyone's eating plants, who gets rich? It's these big corporations with massive market caps, massive budgets. And so these guys have the money. Science needs money. Scientists, I'm sure they love what they do, but they got to get paid. Someone needs to pay them, not only for their work, but also for all their equipment, for their labs, for everything. So behind every scientific paper, money's come from somewhere. And unfortunately, in the world of nutrition, this all comes from food. So it's very hard to counter that, because to the average person, they believe science is incredibly sound. As soon as someone hears, oh, it's proven by science, they don't question it. But what most people don't do is they don't look into, where's this money coming from for the science. So yeah, I'm not really too sure on how we can solve this. I think a big part of it would be to get the guidelines changed, make it so, when you go online and you Google whatever the US government website is, which foods are the healthiest, if red meat pops up first, I think that'll go a long way. And if everyone's doctor, we start changing that, the education system gets changed. All these association studies, which, prove absolutely nothing about cause and effect. If we start going, you know what, these studies tell us nothing. Nothing was controlled in these studies. There are so many other variables that could affect, the outcome of the study. I think if we got all that changed, it would make a big difference.
The strength of man is in his gut. I think had to do with the microbiome in the gut, not strong abs. This is Kathleen Lamb. Phoenicia Roberg, eating plants. So makes sense why we follow the leader. Basically, we're addicted to plants, and it changes our brain and makes us easily followers. I think it's interesting because fat, if you cut fat away from meat, we think it's healthy, and nobody cares about the fat. I mean, they're selling a ton of lean meat. They cut the fat away, but if you think about it, the fatty ribeye steak is like the most expensive meat, and the A5 Wagyu is the fattiest meat, most expensive meat. So it's just all turned over. It's on its head. It's kind of crazy, right?
It's very interesting. And why does this fat taste so good? When you have a ribeye steak with beautiful fat marbled through it, or I've never tried this Wagyu, but actually maybe I did one time, but I can't remember what it tastes like. When you have these cuts of meat, why does it taste so delicious? When you have this one food that hasn't been tampered with, and when you consume it, your body's just like overwhelmed with satisfaction because of how good it tastes. There's got to be something in that must be pretty good for you. And people can go, well, what about processed food? That's not in its natural form. It's engineered by teams of scientists to make it taste as good. Okay, well, what about fruit? Even fruit's not real. 12,000 years ago, we came out of the Ice Age and we started a process called crossbreeding. To very oversimplify it, grow a couple plants that are similar next to each other. These plants will then cross-pollinate and you get this hybrid-style plant. If you look at what fruit looks like, from ancient paintings, basically, this fruit, you wouldn't even recognize what it looks like in comparison to today. We've bred these things to be super sweet. So yes, fruit tastes good, but fruit, again, isn't a real thing in its natural form. But the only thing on the planet that tastes really good to humans in its natural form is fatty beef. We don't like vegetables. Give a kid broccoli, he'll spit that thing out. Give him some bacon, and he'll love it. So there's a reason it tastes so good.
Fatty meat, salt water, one meal a day. Get out there and move and contribute to life and society. And that's what we're all here to do. Like Max is sharing with our brothers and sisters and inspiring with his YouTube and other platforms. Matt, hey, how we doing on our? We got 137 here today. Was hashtag steak and
hashtag steak.
I think what we're going to do on our KMT meetups on Mondays is do a giveaway.
Okay.
And then that will take care of that. And we got to figure out our Instagram, brothers and sisters. But if you just come on over to YouTube, Facebook for a moment, come on back. Snake River Farms. All right. Okay. Scott's in the house. Meat stock. When's meat stock?
Meat stock is May 14 through 18. Be there or be square.
All
be
right.
there or be pudding, not steak.
All right, Scott. Let's see. You guys can sign up for February 7th meat stock. We're going to be February 7th at my house, 8th in Tampa, Texas, Brazil. Also 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The spot's open. You got to come by, and the proceeds are going to healing humanity. And last I looked, I think, Max, we're all humans.
I believe so.
I think so. I just want to share Max's YouTube channel right before we do the gift away. So last call for hashtag steak while I'm sharing Max's channel here. Share screen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe
here we
we'll
go.
give away a steak from Big Horn Mountain. Also, that would be a good one.
We'll figure that one out.
That's easy. That's easy. Mark, we can send them out for sure. Let's see. Steph Block says, thank you much, Max. Thank you bunch for the time and sharing with us. So people really care about your time, Max. And this means a lot to all of us that you've taken the time to be here, to share your story. And YouTube, Max German, look it up, share your words and ideas, and make comments and follow and share. We love to like, subscribe, and share. Our job is to expand to billions of co-subscribers and followers. Together, we are changing the world. The governments, you can't, they're not going to do it. You must make the change. And that's what all of this is really about. So if you simply go to drkiltz.com, we're going to be signing a petition that we're all joining this together. And the petition is our dedication and promise to healing humanity. And Max and all of our children's children, we're leaving a legacy of an idea that is like it's a game changer.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's time for the gift away. Last call, everybody. I got to pop it up on the screen.
137 in the house. Nice.
Here we go. All right.
137.
Here we go. Who's winning today? So if you are in the States, I will send you the book today. If you are out of the States, I'm going to send you a PDF. Anna Berlin, please, is the winner. Woo! Please email me at alia@drkiltz.com to reclaim your gift.
And if you want to be on with us in the morning, or you want me to be on with you, just send a message to alia@drkiltz.com. And just we're all want to do this together. We all equally have a story to tell. And I don't care what your degree is or anything out there. You have a story that's critical and important. I met so many of my friends through this platform and our meetups, and come personally connect and share your stories. Really important. So, Max, really grateful to you. And I hope I can get on your channel also to share some of this with the world.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you back on. Likewise, I'm very grateful for you having me on here, and I appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to watch this. So, thanks everyone.
What are your final comments that you would share with your brothers and sisters?
Oh, well, to everyone on it, keep going strong. But to those who are unsure, I would say just jump into it. There are a lot of people who watch a lot of videos and they think, oh, I might start, and then they try it for a day and then they give into cravings. But what you got to understand with, that's the biggest constraint on carnivore. All these foods, the hyper-processed foods, they're designed to be addictive. They trick your brain into wanting more. Mm-hmm. They target what is known as the bliss point, which is the perfect ratio of salt, sugar, and fat. When they hit that spot right in the middle, boy, they get you. But the good thing is, your brain forgets how much pleasure it gets from these foods within a week or two. So you're going to start carnivore. You might crave things for, a day, maybe 2 days. It'll go up and down during the day, your craving levels. But after 2 weeks, you forget how pleasurable these things are. The cravings go. You feel so good. Like I talked about earlier, after 30 days, you get almost addicted to carnivore. You feel so good. You look so good. You don't want to stop. So jump into it. Try it out for 30 days, and you won't look back.
Awesome, Max. You're the best. I really appreciate you being here. We'll keep following and sharing and communicating together. That's what we're all here to do. And join us for our meetup in Tampa, in Austin, in Australia. And we're brothers and sisters. Connecting positively is critical. So, and Dr. Chafee's on with us tonight, this evening, 4:15 Eastern Time, USA.
Yes.
Come join us, share with your brothers and sisters. And who's on with us tomorrow? We have anyone tomorrow?
Yeah, we have Lindy and Todd, Lindy, Limitless Lindy and Todd Bachnis tomorrow morning.
And how about Friday?
Friday is Papa Carnivore, Peter Cutler.
Awesome.
Jesus,
Carnivore.
got the all-star lineup coming up.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Again, grateful. Max, thank you. And everyone
Thank you.
here on KMT, on Dr. Kilt's Instagram, and of course, YouTube, Facebook. Blessings, brothers and sisters. We will see you today at 4:15 Eastern Time, USA.
Yes. Hasta luego.
See you later. Have a great day or night, everyone.